Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the TZ podcast. I'm your host Christian Boyle, and I'm joined today by Abram Cash, Marion Mraz, and James Hicks. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing fine.
Pretty good.
Yeah, we're testing things out. This is our first time using Hangouts on Air with 4 total people. So bear with us. Today we have three talking points. Let's see. One is hitting the tipping point as a designer when you stop caring about the outcome of a project and switch to machine mode, and how to keep your motivation up during the creative process. Another is the notion of smart TVs and always-on devices, and how that affects your security, your personal security, and what people's take on that is in terms of non-computing devices and things like TVs. And our first topic of the day will be the problems of hitting critical mass within web applications and communities. So I guess, Abram, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. I mean, what sparked my interest in this topic is recently there was an episode of a YouTube show, YouTubers React, where they basically just get a bunch of the most subscribed YouTube channel members and just get their opinions about stuff about YouTube. And in this episode, they discussed the YouTube comment system and how PewDiePie, who is the most subscribed YouTube user with like 30 million subscribers, in September of last year, disabled comments on all his videos, and they're still disabled to this day. And so his problem was that his videos get 1 million views in the first day and like tens of thousands of comments immediately. So it's just him managing his channel. It's not like the Fine Brothers who do YouTubers React. They have like a whole team of people to go through that stuff and like filter out any spam, any like trolling, any stuff like that. So it's just him by himself. So he just figured, I can't do this. Like, I can't go through all these comments alone. So I'm just going to disable them. And it got me thinking, like, is there a way for him to like not have done that? Like, is there a possible way to just make it manageable for like that many people commenting on a video in the same amount of time? And so looking at some other what other YouTubers did, that YouTube offers like a sort of filter system, so you can just like type in keywords that you don't want to show up in the comments. So you can filter out profanity, filter out URLs, and filter out like quite a few things. So that sort of reduces like spam and trolling comments. But that's just, again, sort of trying to reduce a small number, but you still have like an unmanageable amount. And I'm just, yeah, like, what do you guys think? What would the best way to sort of put it in a manageable state where if you have that huge an audience, what would you do to be able to, I mean, like, just try, like, manage it, really?
Does the filtration system let the people posting the comment know that the YouTuber is not going to be able to see it and it's hidden? Does anyone know?
Yeah, it doesn't say why, but it does basically, like, you type in a comment and then it'll say it was blocked. But it won't say like what word triggered it.
Because that just makes it the whole thing pointless. Because the next thing you're going to do is just replace some of the letters with numbers, whatever, if you're wanting to post something offensive.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys watch Twitch streams, like a lot of the major Twitch channels have the same problem, where they have like tens of thousands of simultaneous users watching their channel. Then obviously there's a comment, like a live chat section, and all of these people are chatting. And the only way to like sort of pull that back is there's a subscriber-only mode to just basically say only people who subscribe to the channel, which costs like $6, will be able to comment. But that isn't like really managing it. It's more like just saying it's impossible to manage that many people. The only way we can do is like put filters in place to just try to reduce the number or try put in friction to stop people from commenting. Like there's also rate limits for like you can only post a comment every 60 seconds or something.
At the minute, it just feels like YouTube has decided that comments are a necessary evil for the site to be popular and just wash their hands of the whole situation. After the initial attempt of forcing the real name policy and then backtracking on that, it just feels like they've just completely washed their hands of it, and it's just kind of become a necessary evil. And they're not really offering creators an actual way to manage it at all.
Yeah, I mean, the comments in principle aren't that bad. Like the comments on YouTube work like the comments on like a WordPress blog or anything. Like if you just have like 10, 20 people commenting on your thing and like its entire lifetime, then it's, you know, it's perfectly fine. It's like, you know, somebody posts some shit, you just delete it, and like it's not a big deal. It doesn't take that much out of your life. But I think the issue is like once you get to that point where you have such a large audience that you can't do anything about it. Like no other web service has like figured it out. Like Facebook has the exact same problem with like really mega huge pages. Like they'll post something and it gets shared all across Facebook, and then it'll have something like 100,000 likes and maybe like 10,000 replies. You know, if you go through that, like most of it is spam. Like most of it's from like click farm bots just posting like just posting garbage basically.
Yeah, I think there's also a difference between like live commenting versus like after the event commenting. You know, and like live commenting is rarely useful. I mean, it's just people trying to, you know, get their words in, and regardless of the merit of their comment or anything. And then after the fact, you can kind of filter a little bit more because, like in YouTube comments, there'll be a bunch of upvotes on certain comments, and usually those are the ones that are like worth reading.
On Reddit, I would say yes, but on YouTube, no. Because what's interesting about YouTube is it ranks comments to the top that have the most replies as well as likes. So basically, if somebody like tries to start some shit, and then like 50 people come in and try just for a rebuttal, they'll get to the top immediately.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I have listened to a podcast where they interviewed PewDiePie, and they were talking about exactly about this, why he turned off comments and what was his reason. And he said like the main reason was that some of really bad comments were getting upvoted and people were tricking the system, and it was of no value for him. So he's even said that if he had the chance to disable top voted comments, he would do this, and he wouldn't turn off the comments.
I guess that makes sense, because if you're getting 1 million views over, you know, the course of just a few weeks or something, then having 100 upvotes on a comment doesn't really, you know, it's not really. I don't know. It should be more like, you know, 50,000 upvotes or something to make it always sticky to the top or something. If it's just 100, you could definitely game the system somehow to, you know, reflect whatever your opinion is.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't like it isn't like Reddit where you can sort of go through all the comment threads. It's sort of more like a traditional forum where comments just keep coming in and stacked up above the other. You know, it's more like a Twitter feed than, and like a very sophisticated comment system. So when you have that many, it's like, yeah, sure, you would think like all that many people viewing, the top comment should have like tens of thousands of likes, but really it's mostly that I'll get like a few likes and then it'll just disappear, and then the next people come in again looking at the comments, it'll just be gone. Like it'll be like 10 pages back, and then so whatever they see, they'll give likes, and then the next few people come, again, same thing.
Have any of you guys seen a comment system that works really well, like much better than the ones we've talked about?
Works really well for like the number of people? No. I mean, I think most comments, like comment systems, are exactly the same as they have been since the 90s. Like if you look at Japanese text boards, which came out in the late 90s, how they work is you have like the index is like maybe 10, 20 threads, and then each individual thread is the first post of the thread, and then it's sort of truncated, so it's just shortened, and then the last 5 posts of the thread, and again, you know, sort of truncated just to compacted, and then just a little reply input form right at the very bottom, and then multiplied by 20. And Facebook is exactly like that. So here we have Japanese forum, like 98, 99, Facebook 2014, the exact same system.
The Facebook system doesn't allow the quoting though, like I believe it's 2Channel started it, and which I think is one of the best design systems for actual, almost real-time discussion. But it wouldn't. There's no way it would scale up to YouTube level of comments. I don't think any system really could.
Would it be similar? Like, does Amazon have the same number of commenters as YouTube does? I guess it doesn't work especially well, but
I mean, like Amazon reviews?
yeah.
Honestly, I have no clue. I think very few people would review most items. Like, if you think about it, like, I'm not sure I've ever seen an item that I've purchased on Amazon with more than 1,000 reviews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess the commenting system has failed everywhere.
Yeah, and I just remembered this yesterday, but Barack Obama, on his Twitter, he follows over 600,000 people, like 646,000 people. So like his Twitter feed must be exactly like what PewDiePie's comment feed was, where like you refresh it every second and it's just like 100 new posts, and then it's like impossible to filter through. Just like so much keeps coming and coming.
Yeah, I feel like
the only things.
Go ahead.
The only things that could possibly compare to a top-tier YouTuber would be Kanye West's Twitter feed, Barack Obama's Twitter feed, any major celebrity, just on the sheer amount of people commenting. I don't think even top Reddit can compare.
Yeah, and I think those accounts are handled by social media marketing people, and they're only looking at a handful of the tweets filtered against whatever they want to discuss that day.
Yeah, but I think it really depends on what you are expecting from this communication between one guy and like 1 million people. I don't think you can have a real conversation like between so many people and one individual.
That's true. It's a fair point.
Yeah, I think in PewDiePie's case, what he's done is he's basically said, don't comment on YouTube, but I'll still be available like on social media. So you can reply to my post about the video on Twitter or on Facebook or on my website and so forth. So basically try split up, well, like first add a layer of friction. So instead of, a lot of people who would have posted on the YouTube comment thread probably won't post on his Twitter or Facebook. And then have those people split apart. So maybe somebody will post on Facebook, but not on Twitter. Maybe somebody will only post on on his website, but not on social media and so forth, to just sort of like spread it apart and just add a layer of friction so you have less overall to deal with.
Yeah, I think he has a special forum where they can discuss with his community, and yeah, he puts some walls before his followers, and if they are and make the effort to reach out to him, I think the quality of the content will be much higher.
There's another, well, he's also a Let's Player, I think, same as PewDiePie. Total Biscuit has a subreddit dedicated to him. I don't know how active he is in his comments. He's very active on Twitter, but he actually left his subreddit, I believe, because it got too much negativity on it, too many people trolling him or whatever. So it just seems like it's kind of infeasible for this level of celebrity, these people who started out just making small videos on YouTube and now they're getting in ridiculous amounts of views. It just seems completely infeasible for them to manage their own social media themselves anymore.
Yeah, and there's like a sort of irony that they got so big just because they interacted with their community at such a level, and then once they get so big that it's basically impossible to interact with the community anymore, and they just have to.
Yeah, and this all kind of, I guess, leads us to our next topic, or one of our next topics, which is surveillance. And it's kind of ironic that a lot of people want to get their voice heard on social media but stay anonymous. But then when you talk about things like this recent story about Harvard installing cameras in their lecture halls to monitor student attendance, you know, people lose their minds because they're like, you know, if you didn't tell me, that's not fair. But that's kind of the same thing that these YouTubers do. You know, they're like, well, it's not fair to try to, you know, harass us with 50,000 negative troll comments and expect us to, you know, be nice about it and try to handle it civilly.
Yeah, I think what the Harvard thing is, I mean, Facebook was around when I went to college, but not at the level it was. But you know, there were plenty of people who were just like posting on Facebook when they should have been in class. So I mean, I think these days it probably would be pretty similar, where like if you just monitored social media, you could probably figure out who was in class and who wasn't. And you know, those are their public posts.
Yeah, but you can hide yourself pretty effectively on social media so that people can't really track you unless they're friends with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think, I mean, on Facebook, I would say that's what people do. They have like friends or friends of friends as their privacy setting. But if they use something like Instagram or even Twitter, most people probably have everything public, just because that's the default and never really think about it.
Yeah, that's true. What do you guys think about the smart TV business? It's a Samsung smart TV that's coming out that it ignores do not track requests. It does all kinds of stuff. It sets tracking cookies and beacons designed to detect when you viewed particular content or particular email message. It records the apps you use, the websites you visit, and how you interact with content, and has a built-in camera with facial recognition.
It sounds
Pretty
exactly
wild.
like the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they were heading for with the Xbox One. If you look at a lot of the features built into the Kinect 2, to me, it all just looks completely driven towards advertising analytics. It recognizes your face, logs that to a certain user account, tells what emotions you're feeling, tells if you're engaged. If you look at the debug readout for the device, it uses terms like engagement, which is all very much advertising terms. So, and even monitors your heart rate through you somehow. Does it not?
Yeah, it
Really?
monitors like the like if you look at your face like through a like there's basically like a filter that shows your face in a camera and will um I can't really describe it, but basically shows your blood flow through your skin through like a certain filter of the camera. And so they use that in like hospitals just to detect like heart rate of like infants. And I think they're basically just using the exact same technology where it just detects the very minute changes in your skin tone and then figures out what your pulse is from that.
I believe it might have been a Microsoft research project before it was released. But yeah, so it, just things like that. The fact it tracks specific users in the room, to me, it all just looks. And also the focus of the TV focus of the unit is all about watching TV. It just feels to me that Microsoft was thinking, we get the TV into your home. We've got a camera on you all the time. We can track how if you paid attention to an advert, if you enjoyed the advert, and then we also have that link to your online account, so we can push further adverts to you once you're when you're using Bing. If you do, as I work in advertising, so it just seems completely what would be, a client would pay a hell of a lot of money for.
I mean, now that Android TV is sort of bad, Google's first Bunny has made a commitment to ship their smart TVs running Android TV in the future, and I'm pretty sure basically all the features you described are in Android TV as well. Of course, Android TV has the benefit of actually being made by a company that makes a hell of a lot of money through advertising.
That's why I feel the focus of it was advertising, because surely their biggest competitor at the minute is Google. It's stealing they've stolen their internet browser, Rain. It's stolen. It's where you can basically access all the internet for, and Google Docs is starting to eat their lunch in Office. So it just feels like it was a gateway for them to move into the same area that their biggest competitor is.
Do you guys think this is going to be what separates Google from Apple in the future, where there's like a clear distinction between who is advertising friendly and who's just hardware, no advertising sale or sales to whatever third parties, stuff like they've been talking about lately?
I mean, I guess so, because like Google doesn't make money from the software. They give that out to OEMs, and then they hope the OEMs will just like make money off it, and then they can make money off through the platform. So I mean, whereas Apple makes their money off the hardware, so they don't have to try subsidize like all their investment through future revenue and advertising. They can just say, all right, we got your $100 from selling your Apple TV, and then that's it for us.
Yeah, so what about like this new indie thing from Ural Balkan? What do you guys think about that? I mean, do you think people care about this stuff? Like, is it really in the general public's radar, or is it just a tech thing?
It's not really in the... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's not really in the radar, because if you remember, there was an article in the New York Times, I think might have been 2-3 years ago, about Target, and what they were doing was they were basically monitoring purchase history and then sending out flyers tailored for those people based on their purchase history. And like there was this one example of they sent a flyer basically advertising like strollers and stuff to a family, and it was a single dad with a 16-year-old daughter, and then he was really pissed off, and then he like cursed them out because why are you sending like this to my house? And then a few months later he realized that his daughter was pregnant, and I mean, that was the scary part was this algorithm that Target invented figured out that the 16-year-old girl was pregnant before her father did.
That comes back to Facebook as well. They their algorithms will actually. There was an article quite recently, I think in the New York Times, about it. They actually can tell if you're pregnant before you are based on your behavior in some cases.
Yeah, there was another article about how they inadvertently leaked somebody's sexual orientation before they had told anyone based on one of their groups, and it was, this kind of thing where it definitely shouldn't have happened, but they don't apparently their algorithms are smart enough to figure this stuff out, but not smart enough to withhold it from the general public or, the stakeholders, which is weird. It's like they almost, have blatant disregard for privacy, which I guess is pretty true. I don't know. Do you guys think?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I asked you this earlier today, but if you remember, a couple of years back, Facebook did that thing where instead of you posting a status update, whatever you do, it would post a status update automatically. So if you were listening to a song on Spotify, it would just post it on your newsfeed automatically. If you're reading a post on The Guardian, it would just post it on your newsfeed automatically. And then, their plan was you just post everything automatically, and then Facebook algorithms will figure out what to expose to your friends' news feeds. So instead of you just seeing the live news feed, they just show you what would be interesting tailored to you. But of course they changed that because it's automatically on Facebook.
The overshare system that they had in place back then, I think that actually did damage their brand quite a bit. Because before that, the connect with Facebook, basically everything was going to connect with Facebook. I had so many clients coming to us asking for every project. It'd be like, gotta go through Facebook, and then there was just a massive drop off because the users were so unsure about what happens once you've connected with Facebook that it just felt like whatever you do, it's just going to spam the hell out of your account, because it did for probably about a month or whenever they did the kind of overshare project, and massive drop off, and we just stopped having to build it in because no one had used the thing.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Xanga kind of to blame for that as well?
I think it was something to do with them having such low engagement at the time or something, because, why else would you do it unless you really want people to post, I think this was during their migration to the new profile views, the side-by-side profile views, is that right?
Yeah, it was about that time.
Yeah, I remember one specific detail was for The Guardian, or I guess World News Organization integration, it wasn't like you go on theguardian.com and then it posts on your Facebook newsfeed. You had to, The Guardian had to have a special Facebook page, and then when you read an article on the Facebook page, it would post onto your newsfeed. And I think most news organizations just don't like doing that, so they pulled out.
Yeah, it's interesting to see nowadays how there's no distinction, even though they could easily make one between satire and real news. I see people constantly posting links to whatever those sites are, like National News Daily Report, and I think Clickhole's another one that I think it was just last week a bunch of people posted about how Beanie Babies were stuffed with spider eggs back in 1998 or whatever, and they're all hatching now. And all these people were posting to their parents and stuff get them out of the house, this and that. It's I don't know. It seems dangerous almost, because if they don't flag that stuff, I mean, they should be flagging that stuff, right? I would think, at least, because it's dangerous to have that kind of misinformation floating around.
I think the people writing it don't quite realize how gullible some of the people reading it are.
Yeah, it's likely. Okay, do you guys think we should jump over to Marion's topic? Marion, are you still with us here?
Just one last thing about smart TVs, or rather smart devices in general. If you remember, last year the launched with like always listening functionality, and like that wasn't literally always listening. What that was is they had like a dedicated CPU core that was just listening for a certain key phrase, and then once you set the key phrase, it would like basically turn on the phone. So that was basically just say, I think it was OK Google now, and then your phone would just start listening to your commands. And that was sort of neat because it wasn't like everything was stored on the phone. It wasn't like hooked up to the cloud, whereas like most Google searches, Google Voice searches are hooked up to the cloud. You basically say something, sends it over to Google servers, where it translates it into text on their servers, then returns back a result. So that was sort of okay. Whereas, like I think with smart TVs, they go way beyond that, where they really just are watching you do everything.
Well,
Like,
Xbox One has obviously had problems with that, where the TV adverts actually end up turning the thing on itself.
Right, yeah, I remember stories about that.
well, I mean, the Xbox One was really bad because like their keyword wasn't that great, because like people who own Xboxes might be talking about their Xbox in their living room, and then all of a sudden it turns on. And, I mean, that was the biggest problem that like I've heard a lot of people say before they unplug their Kinect was, yeah, they were just every time they say Xbox would just turn on.
But that's seen as like a useful feature now that iOS and Android both have it. Although it's kind of weird in iOS, you have to say, "Hey Siri," but the phone has to be docked or plugged in.
I need to catch up.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's picking up right now. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a useful feature as long as it's not broadcasting anywhere except to you and your location. So.
Yeah, I think voice controlling is one of the biggest advantages of voice interfaces. Like you have how is it called, the Apple Car, where you have Siri, hands-free Siri or something.
Yeah, I think it's called CarPlay.
Yeah. But this whole tracking discussion is really nice when you compare it to wearables and all those tracking bracelets and watches, and how everyone's trying to jump on this, and nobody's really complaining about this type of tracking of people, because they think, or they get the impression that the personal data that's being tracked is really personal, that it's not being sent anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to tell like what's okay and what's not okay to track, because I do want GPS tracking me if I'm going on a walk or a run, so I can see how far I went on my app. But I don't want my TV listening to my conversations in my living room and broadcasting that to advertising supercomputers somewhere,
Yeah, I think the difference is for health tracking, like that doesn't need to be sent over to like a third-party server to do it. Like that can be done on the device. Like I have an app on my phone that tracks my GPS coordinates and then tells me how far I've walked and how many calories I've burned, and it does that all on the device. It doesn't have to like constantly ping like some server telling them where I am to like figure that out. And for yeah, for like health tracking, I say if you put in like your height, your weight, like maybe like sort of what you ate, it should be able to just figure out like what you need to do on the device. It shouldn't really need to constantly like send information back somewhere.
It's all completely exploitable though, because if you're tracking, you're walking, you're running. It's like, well, they walk past Starbucks twice, 3 times a day. Send them a voucher. It all just depends on the intentions of the company.
I remember a couple of months ago there was something in the UK about like how they were putting beacons in trash bins.
Yeah, they did.
Did they end up removing those because people were freaking out?
I believe they actually did get rolled out in the end, but I haven't seen one of they're trash bins with billboards on them basically. I haven't seen one in person yet. I should have done, but I haven't.
Have any of you guys gotten the iBeacon like adverts or anything yet when you go to places that support it?
No, not that I can think of.
No.
I mean, I am waiting for someday I'll be wearing a smartwatch and I'll, like I said, like you said, just walking past the Starbucks and then my watch will vibrate and look up and there's a Starbucks like logo right on my watch. I'm waiting for that to happen. I'm pretty sure that's 2 years away.
Doesn't that already happen on the iOS 8 home screen? Lock screen when you're in a Starbucks.
That's what I was talking about. I think that's iBeacon related.
Yeah. What I'm saying is like I'm waiting for it to be like that's what the watch will be doing all the time.
Right. It's like I think Abram the other day you were saying that some kind of purchased content now has ads like embedded in it. I don't know if it was iTunes movies or something where like it had some sort of advertising like force fed into it. Can't recall now. But yeah, I guess we should probably jump to this last topic before we start running out of time here. The last topic is hitting a tipping point as a designer when you stop caring about the outcome of the project and switch to machine mode, and how to keep your motivation up during the creative process. I know a lot of people run into this when it's a super long project, like a year or 2-year project, and it's hard to like keep up the same level of excitement throughout the whole thing, especially towards the end when you're just iterating over and over on small, tiny details. I guess, Marion, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, I didn't want to talk about like this whole process, like when it lasts for a really, really long time. But at least for me, this happens like from day to day. Like one day there's this tipping point when all of the decisions are being made without me or something, and I'm starting to feel like I'm losing control, and then suddenly the motivation really disappears. But yeah, now I'm talking as a designer, but I think this can be applied to all the passionate people who are somehow collaborating with some people. Yeah, I think when you are really, really deep into the project and something or someone bursts this small little bubble of motivation that you have, you can turn into an android and just doing like this machine work and just completing tasks, and it can have a really, really bad impact on the product.
Yeah, what kind of tools do you use to keep motivated and prevent that from happening?
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to ask you guys, because all of you are more experienced than I am. So I wanted to ask you if you have some kind of tips that someone can shield himself from this, or or is it just, does it happen to some people who are kind of like control freaks, or does it happen naturally to all the people?
I think it happens to every single freelancer, like most of the time, where it's just like you have this sort of idea for the project, and then the client doesn't, and then obviously the client is the one paying, so it's sort of like fighting to try convince them of what should be done, and then eventually just giving up and doing what they want to do, even though it's not exactly what you think should be.
Yeah, I think from the product standpoint, like doing product design, it's easy to get disillusioned when decisions are made like without you there, and even though you're the one implementing them. So to like battle that off, it seems important to like, if you see something that you disagree with, you still need to raise it to somebody. You still need to bring it up and be like, even though I wasn't there when the decision was made, did you guys take this into account? Because it's no fun just being a robot and completing tasks, especially when you're like, typically when you're doing product design, you're tightly coupled to whatever the product is, and you're working on it for a long period of time, and it's not like, you don't want to give up on it, of course, but you also want to make it the best you can. So yeah, it's like a balancing act. It's pretty difficult, but I think everybody experiences it from time to time.
And is it something like you have to make sure that you are keeping some kind of distance from a project, or because this can be really like, this can backfire if you make it your baby or something?
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's product design, it's better not to distance yourself and to be quite close to it. I've not really worked on any long projects for the amount of time that people work on it in product design, because I work at an agency, so things are, the longest it ever is 8 months or something. Things come in quite quick and go in and out quite fast. So if there's something that the client's basically completely screwed up, you can just kind of go, oh well, just a few more weeks of it, then I don't have to think about it again. But I think it's more about asserting your position on it and asserting the value you're bringing to it, to make sure that they see the value of your input and how choices made without you being around is going to affect it, possibly negatively.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think that it's like with any relationship in life, there's ups and downs, and it's not always like, you're not going to wake up every day thinking, oh man, this is the best day of my life. I can't wait to go work on this product again all day, for the rest of your life. It just doesn't work like that. So being able to maintain that balance where there's as little frustration as possible and as much collaboration and improvement as possible, because everybody on the team wants the same thing. Nobody wants to work on a crappy product. Everybody wants to make it good. It's just about managing your resources and your constraints and stuff, and trying to keep pushing.
So do you think that once you flip the switch, once the frustration overwhelms you, you think it's possible to go back?
Yeah. I think you mean go back to being happy with the project and happy to work on it. Yeah, I think it is. It's just you have to kind of figure out why you're so bummed out about it and try to take steps to fix the things that are going poorly, because at the beginning of any product design project, it's a lot of fun because you're diving in, you're learning new stuff, you're learning about the product, you're learning about the users, you're trying to make everybody happier, and it seems like it fades away over time, but I don't think it really does. I think it's just your perception of it changes.
It's definitely possible to pull it back. I've been in several situations where the clients come across with feedback, and you've looked at it, and you've been like, what the hell are they thinking? It's going to be terrible. And then, a few days later, you're kind of looking back and going, yeah, actually, it's much better now. It does sometimes work out.
Yeah, I think disillusionment's actually pretty good for a project overall, just because it gives you the chance to stop thinking about it, just go through the motions, stop thinking about it, then a few days later you'll get back into thinking about it, and then you know what, maybe what I was fighting for wasn't that smart to begin with, and then maybe come up with a few new good ideas and put it in a better direction than you would have. Because I think when you're always caught up in it and just constantly thinking, trying to make it good, I guess it's like going on with blinders, where you don't even see what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I don't know if you've worked in an agency type setting, Marion, but or projects like that. Have you?
Yeah. Before I was working at a web design agency, and oh man, yeah, that's something completely different. It happens almost every second client. People really are trying to think their own projects, and they don't even know it. That was really frustrating.
Yeah, a lot of agency work is kind of an exercise in trying to stop the client screwing up the piece of work that would go off completely flawlessly without their input.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you deal with that? I've always wondered, James, because I know you're, basically our agency pro. And how do you deal with that? Because I know from my experience with clients, a lot of them are just really pushy, even though they don't necessarily have expertise in whatever they're trying to accomplish, web or, motion, whatever it may be.
Some of them are. It is very, very difficult with some of them. A lot of the times people kind of almost wash their hands of it and just try and get it finished, which isn't probably the best way to go about it. I suppose it depends on how long-term the project is, because I suppose the thing with agency work is at the end of it you all get paid, so as long as the client's happy, they're happy. It's not the same really as doing startup work. But occasionally, yeah, if the client comes out with something initially, it seems terrible, but I think a good way to look at it is it's as Abraham was saying, when you start on something from the beginning, you've got blinders on. So if the client basically screws it up, it's almost like taking all your work, throwing it in the bin, and kind of just starting over again. Which is, if you people before word processes and stuff, obviously they used to, if you write an essay, you'd rewrite it several times, and it'd get better each time. So I think that's one more positive way to looking at it as the client screwing up your work.
Yeah, Marion, did you have other points on that, or?
No, I think we can just conclude that this stuff happens to everyone, and yeah, you can get over it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I don't even think it necessarily takes switching jobs or switching employers or clients or anything. It's just kind of different mindset, Go out and take a walk instead of sitting there looking at Reddit or whatever.
Yeah, but I actually think that this is one of the reasons why you have so many indie developers and designers who come from a big corporation.
Yeah, that's true. I was just thinking about it in terms of do you ever get tired of playing your favorite game? How do you fix that?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to stop playing altogether. But, if you get burnt out because you just lost 20 hands in a row in Hearthstone or something, then you're pretty, kind of hate the game at that point.
Just kind of walk away from it and come back a bit later and then get back into it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be quite interested to hear, I don't know if you'd ever be able to, because they're quite a bit more strict on NDAs, and obviously it's a bit tricky to talk about it with the way their career goes, but someone, sort of people who work at Facebook or those huge monolithic applications where surely you get all that sort of feedback and way, way worse from all levels of management on everything you do.
Yeah, another thing about Facebook is I sort of wonder what it's like if you're working there 4 years on the exact same product day after day, especially with like a product that is so rigid as Facebook.
I think a lot of people get tired of it. There's been a lot of people that have left over the last year. A lot of, people that had been there for a couple of years and had, been locked into a role. And I don't know how much mobility there is there between roles. I assume not much, because everybody's like working on features, and it's like the teams are the teams, and they're staffed accordingly.
I'm really looking forward to what will happen to all the Dropbox designers, because they are hiring people like crazy.
I think it'll be the same thing after a couple of years. They'll all just leave, because there's nothing challenging really.
Dropbox seems to be spreading its the reach of their spreading the focus of their products much further than Facebook was in sort of the same time scale, because they just seem to be buying things left, right, and center and releasing things all over the place. I mean, in the past 2 years, is it like 2 free apps they've released? It just seems really excessive compared to Facebook. I mean, I think talking about the sort of design process at Facebook is Andy Chung's portfolio, and you look down it, and there's only, I think he's been at Facebook for quite a while, but there's only like 3 little screenshots of Facebook pieces of UI design that he's worked on. I just imagining the amount of work that has gone into perfecting these and the amount of user testing, I'd be quite interested to hear about it, but I don't think we ever will.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Dropbox, your point about their apps is, I mean, Carousel and Mailbox were their 2 apps they launched, but both of those were through acquisition. So Mailbox already existed, and can't remember what Carousel was before that, but like the app was a product of an acquisition. I just remember that much.
Yeah, I think Facebook's strategy is different too. I read something recently about how like them breaking off Messenger and stuff is a way for them to like reel back in people who don't want to be on Facebook but use parts of it, or something to that effect. Whereas the Dropbox stuff is like, why are they doing mail? Why are they doing photo slideshows? That's pretty weird. And I don't know anybody that uses Carousel. I guess a few people use Mailbox, but
it's like Facebook's fragmentation. Sorry. It's like Facebook's fragmentation is.
Their strategies make sense. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, James.
Okay. It's Facebook's fragmentation is fragmentation of the core product, whereas Dropbox's fragmentation is more fragmenting the actual company itself into services the users of it perhaps didn't really want in the first place.
Yeah, I was going to say that with Dropbox, like it makes sense, like for them to store mail and pictures, just because, people store pictures in Dropbox anyway, so they figure we just want to store all people's data. So if they, like a lot of people have attachments in their emails, we want to store those. A lot of people, email is just another form of data, we want to store that. Whereas with Facebook, I think it's more of, they just want to be that thing that people go to. So obviously with Paper was more like a news reader than like a Facebook reader. And they just said, well, people read the news, let's just make an app where people read the news, just so people use us to do that thing. And like with Messenger, same thing, like people use instant messengers. Same thing with WhatsApp, like people use instant messengers, better that they use our instant messenger than somebody else's. And what else was there? Oh, there are two Snapchat clones, same thing. Instagram, like same thing. And their latest app, Rooms. Well, Rooms actually seems innovative in that I don't think a lot of people use chat rooms anymore, but again, Facebook would rather people use Facebook chat rooms than any other chat rooms.
It felt very much the Facebook functionality in paper was tacked on by the board directors after the initial application had come about. It really didn't feel like an application designed for navigating your feed. It felt more like it was about the news. I found the launch of Rooms quite fascinating, that a company with the most invasive social network and the largest reach of a social network would see it necessary to launch an application that was based around anonymous chat and didn't require logging into that social network to use it. It just felt like a bit like a death knell to me that they themselves know it's kind of the sun's beginning to set on the monolithic system.
But I think I've read somewhere that this chat room application was made by just a few guys and juniors or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I will check it out.
That would make sense. I mean, Paper feels like a Flipboard clone that had been in development for like 3 years, and then, like James said right at the end, they just tacked on the news feed. Here you go. Here's, the exact same thing you're going to see on the site, but left and right.
It definitely feels like it started development when Flipboard was the big hot thing on the App Store, and they kind of went, gotta clone that, and they had a great team from, is it Push Pop Press? Did they acquire them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if Rooms is made by just a small team of juniors, like suggest, I'm quite surprised it got the huge launch it did. I would have thought it would have been more pushed under the radar rather than pushing that out as such a big Facebook product.
Yeah, what was it released with, or who else was releasing something at the time? Wasn't there one of the other big social media places doing something similar? It actually might have been when the mailbox beta coins were happening or something. I vaguely remember. I don't know.
It's kind of in the wake of Secret as well, a little bit. You could imagine it when Secret was quite big news. If they'd started development then, that would make sense to be launching around the time they did.
I think they were smart to not clone Secret and Whisper, especially because of all the negative press those have been getting about how they really aren't anonymous at all, and they track you. They can tell who's, saying what.
I never really understood the value of posting secret messages within a group of people I know. It just felt like the only real application for it is bullying people, basically.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're not in Silicon Valley, it's, how many people use Secret that probably like 3, 4, maybe. So it doesn't seem very anonymous whatsoever. And then we saw that guy, whoever it was, the supposed Apple employee, leak all that stuff before iOS 7 or 8.
The headphones?
Yeah. Well, the headphones were the only thing that didn't pan out to be true.
Yeah.
But the rest of it was all true, I think.
Yeah, it looks like main use of Secret is to leak information.
Yeah, I kind of doubt that'll happen anymore. I'm sure people realized after that it's not even close to safe to do that.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to see the browser stack hack that happened yesterday? Somebody got in there and sent out a mass email to all the customers saying that all the virtual machines had the same password, and they'll have the same root password as well, and they listed it in this email, and this is on Hacker News, and there are several people in the thread that said, yeah, I actually noticed something weird, a few months ago where I logged into a session and I could see another user typing and moving their mouse, and then it cut off. But obviously, the sessions weren't unique like they were saying they were, and I don't know. People were thinking that it was a disgruntled ex-employee, because if those things were true, it's likely that they would be the only people that had that info. So it's interesting to see how that stuff gets disseminated, and how I don't know why employees would do that. It seems very naive to think that you're not going to get caught.
I mean, it just feels more like an excuse. The rogue employee sounds like less bad press-wise than we're completely incompetent.
Yeah, of course, and a couple other competing companies like cross-browser-testing.com, and about how their virtual machines were always restarted after each session, and it takes a little bit longer and it costs a little bit more, but that's why they do it. Basically saying, yeah, it's pretty likely that stuff is happening and that they're running a shoddy business. So, but yeah, that's slightly off topic. But yeah, I guess that about wraps it up for us. Did anybody have any last remarks or anything they wanted to chat about? I guess the fact that the Retina iMacs have been tested to run at 60 hertz at 5K resolution is pretty sweet. We all thought that wouldn't happen.
That's pretty impressive, but there was I saw a link on the Apple subreddit yesterday that the temperature they run at is absolutely ludicrous.
Oh, really? Is it like hot to the touch?
It's hot even by, well, it's very, very hot even by Mac standards, and it's like the old iMac, the old fat iMacs even you'd feel like if you left your hand on it would burn you, but yeah, it just feels like making them super skinny is a sillier and sillier mistake by each release.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't ship an absolutely such a thin computer and then the next generation, the Retina one, go, oh yeah, sorry, it's fat again.
Yeah,
I do wonder why they're so thin, because I mean they're not like notebooks where you carry in your bag. They're desktop computers. And a couple of inches in the back isn't gonna like hurt anybody. Like I just think it's year over year, it just has to be thinner, and then they got to the point where they ran out of sufficient room, but they can't just make it bigger.
It felt like a feature for the sake of a feature, that they were releasing an update to them and they didn't really have much going for it, but it was like, well, we can make it really thin, that's a reason to buy one, even though when you use it from the front it looks exactly the same as the fattest one they released.
Yeah, I think it was a stopgap thing because they didn't have the yields on the displays on the panels, and they didn't have Thunderbolt upgraded at the time. So it was just like there was no waiting. You know, Tim Cook and the supply chain were ready to ship something, so they just did it.
If you remember all the promo shots where it was shown at such an angle that it hid the big arse on it, basically, because it does jut out at the back, but all the promo shots were from an angle which was very it made it look a lot better than it actually was.
Yeah, same with the iPhone 6. I mean, this is all post Steve Apple. Weird. But yeah, I guess that about wraps it up for our first episode of the TZ podcast. Thanks everybody for joining, and I don't know, I guess we'll do this again in a week.
All right.
Sound
Talk
good?
to you later.
All right.
Yep.
See ya.
Thanks,
Keep
everybody.
pushing.